Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host, Valerie, and sometime co-host, Miss Purrington. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. We bring you articles and podcasts featuring the best in Austin comedy in all its shapes and formats. Started in 2016, the podcast project brings you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. Today, I sit down with somebody who's been having a great year. He performed at Moon Tower, and he was a tour de force during the Moon Tower ping pong slapdown. And soon after, he hosted for Martha Kelly and the Sklar Brothers. He's one of those comics that likes to address his quote-unquote look with the audience to disarm them and prepare them for a fun ride. And since one of my favorite comics and past guest, Matthew Broussard, does the same thing, I'm pretty on board with this approach so that you can have fun once you've addressed the elephant in the room. He's attended a handful of festivals, and he helped found the sketch comedy troupe The Cool Table and the improv troupe Statues. So he's a multifaceted performer. And to that end, he's also making his film debut next year, and I can't wait to hear about that. And now, Comedy Wham presents our guest, Hunter Duncan.
Yay!
Cheers!
Riotous applause. The cat's going nuts. This is great. I'm biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like my biggest credit is my ping pong skills. Yeah. That's what, that is not wrong. That is, that's the biggest stage that I've performed on, actually, was just hitting a ball and falling over.
Right.
And
that's the irony of the moment. Is
I know.
You fell during this epic round.
Oh, that was how I went out too. And then the Sklar Brothers had that great, when they interviewed me after it, that great, Hunter, you were flopping around on stage just like when you do comedy. I was like, oh, all right, here we go.
Yeah,
this hurts.
In the comic world, that's like a compliment. Right?
I know. I guess flopping around. I don't know. I don't know if that's a compliment, but
from them, I think.
Yeah, exactly. They're sweet guys, and so that's one of the things I've learned in comedy is that when they're making fun of you, that means they like you. So right. I mean, any comic. So I mean, I appreciate it. But yeah, it was. I wanted to play Judah Friedlander, but he would have chopped me up. That guy.
Yeah.
But that was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Cool.
What a wonderful intro.
Yeah. Well,
I appreciate it.
It's all true.
Yeah.
It's all true.
That's right.
I like to kick these off by asking my guests one word to describe your past.
Mm-hmm. One word. I'm not good with words, evidently. Thank God I don't do it on stage. I would say, should have thought of this. I would say, planned, I guess, would be.
Plant or planned?
Both. A planned plant. I'm the seed that is growing, and I planned it. I guess planned. I need to work on enunciating, but planned. I guess always I had up until I started doing comedy, I always had like a path laid out, a career path. Yeah. I wanted to. And I was planning 10 years in advance what I'd be doing every, couple of years, where I should land and milestones. And then I realized at one point that was not a fun way to live.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in New York and worked in finance and grinded it out and that wasn't for me.
Yeah. Well, you have thrown a lot of information. If you keep that up, this interview will end in about 15 minutes.
Oh, so, I'm sorry. Don't worry. I got a lot to say. I can, we can make this 3 hours. No, I'll just keep going.
No, we will not make it 3 hours because I got things to do.
Yeah.
You have things to do.
No, that's not true. But yeah, you're right. People out there, I'm very busy. I've got a lot of cool people to hang out with. Keep the illusion up.
I found out something surprising about you. You grew up in Austin?
I grew up in Austin.
One of those people.
I'm a unicorn.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I grew up in Austin. I've been here, my whole life until, I guess, college. I went to Texas Christian University, and then in Fort Worth, and then went to New York after that, and then came back.
And do you have any early comedic memories from growing up?
In Austin, or just kind of all. I would say
like just something that you watch, or something that was happening within your family, or just.
I guess from a actual formal stand-up thing, I always enjoyed watching like the Comedy Central half hours. Mm-hmm. It's gonna cheat, but like Dane Cook, I love Dane Cook. He was writhing around with the tank top on in that Comedy Central special that he had that half hour, talking about pickles, and then wasn't until I started doing stand up I realized that's not really stand up comedy. But you know what? It worked, and I was laughing, and I just remembered loving that and seeing the reaction he got and stuff. And I guess my most formal. The thing that my family always brings up to me is that they always enjoy we play board games and have like a family night every once in a while, and I would get so just bored and awkward. It's just, I don't know, where it's all quiet. There's just four of my sister, my mom, and my dad. We're sitting around a table playing a game and I just would start making fun of my mom and stuff, and she would start getting mad, but my dad would be laughing, and then my sister would be laughing, and then I'd just keep going, and she'd keep getting mad, like, I'm not going to play anymore, and then my dad's laughing. I was like, all right, this is fun. I like that. You're kind of upset, but you're having fun. And so, yeah.
So your comedic beginning started with roasting your mom.
Exactly. It did. Yeah, exactly. And she's so sweet. I felt so, looking back, I'm like, that's, and that's what it is. It's like you roast the ones you love. Yeah. And so, my dad should have been offended, I should have realized I liked her more, but
Boo, Dad.
Boo, Dad. Oh, exactly. Step it up. But yeah, that was it, I guess.
So you were living a life as a very analytical and financial minded. You were an analyst. Is that?
Yeah, my career in New York, absolutely. So it was kind of real estate finance. So it was more, I did, when I first moved to New York, the job I got, ironically, was just, straight up nepotism. My cousin was dating a guy who had this job, and he came to visit our extended family. Christmas, we have a big Christmas in West Virginia where we all get together. There's like 35 of us that pile into this one house, and we drink a lot. We're big drinkers. Probably going to be a long-term problem for all of us, but we drink a lot, and we always have a Christmas Eve party, and, they drink. This guy, Mike, my cousin's boyfriend, he was trying to keep up. He's a skinny guy, but he was trying to keep up, and they drink a lot of Wild Turkey 101. He got so drunk. He was like, my grandmother was still alive at the time, and she was a senator, one of the first female state senators in West Virginia. And so at the Christmas Eve party, there were some diplomats, some it's one where everyone's suit and tie kind of thing. He's drunk. He's talking to the ambassador for, I don't know, Poland or something, and he's just like, your dress is pretty. Hey, you have hot. And he's such a put together nice guy. He was so and she's like, what's going on? So I literally carried him over my shoulder up the stairs through this party, and he starts throwing up. And anyway, it's a wild thing. And my cousin at the time, she was just laughing at him, and I'm like, he's dying on the floor. What are we doing? And so I took care of him the rest of the night, making sure he was okay, because I'm an amazing person. And so the next, modest. Exactly. Oh, humility. And so I, at the next day, he was like, wow, thank you so much. That shows a lot about you. I'm going to, when you graduate in a couple months, if you want a job, I've got an opening that I'll give to you. And so that is how I got this weird job that I was totally unqualified for in New York, which is, you're welcome for the whole banking meltdown. This is how it happened. It was like, hey, you helped me drunk. Why not? Be in charge of people's money. So that was it. That was how I got that. So, yeah, I do. I mean, at the time I had, I was much more driven in terms of, it wasn't even, I did kind of have an analytical mind, but it was more, I guess I took my creative side and then just learned how to manipulate the analytical side, kind of creative. So in other words, getting that job, I didn't deserve it. Analytically, you just get good grades, you get the job. I found a way around it. You help your drunk friend, and then I kind of kept moving up in that company, and it was kind of construction and project management. It was only architects and engineers that had that job. And so I was like, what? I had an English degree. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm like, as long as you're likable, people will believe you. So that was kind of what I did. And then I did that for a couple of years and then went into kind of real estate brokerage and then kind of got into the capital markets side. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I think this may be the first Comedy Wham mention of capital market.
There you go. I don't know. Well, you mentioned Matthew Broussard. He actually, he's got a finance background, I think. So, and Michelle Wolf. Michelle Wolf, she's big. She worked at Bear Stearns.
I didn't know.
Yeah, before. So yeah, exactly. The three of us, we're all equals. Yeah. So yeah, me, Michelle Wolf with her TV show. I'm just like her. So
Hunter will be at the correspondence dinner next year.
Exactly.
Because that you're good friends with the Polish ambassador. Right?
I am best friends with everyone from Poland, and shout out to all my Polish fans out there. I was going to try to say something, and I don't know any. I was going to come out offensive, so I'll just blow right past it. But yeah.
So you're living in New York, which is like hub of comedy in the U.S.
Right.
Did you realize
that
you were?
Yeah. I mean, so that was weirdly what I spent I was, at the time, I was working maybe like 100, 120 hours a week. Yeah. So I was there. I was at the office constantly, but when I wasn't, I lived at I guess it was 6th Avenue and Bleecker, which is in Greenwich Village. So it's like almost like two and a half blocks from the Comedy Cellar. So I would go there constantly because they had late shows like 7 nights a week. Mm-hmm. So I would go, and it was all the time, and it was amazing. I mean, because I would go and to see a showcase of these 7 people that don't really have much credit. Maybe a couple of them did a late night spot at some point, but then people would just drop in. Like Chris Rock would just drop in, and then he'd do a set. I saw Chris Rock do a set on like a Tuesday night, and there were maybe like 7 people in the audience. I was like, this is amazing. This is going to be the coolest thing. He bombed. My God. I was cringing. I was like, what are you doing? Is this, this poor guy? And it was that point where because as an audience member, I mean, even still, I still do this as a comic, but beforehand, I always feel bad when comics are doing it because it hurts me. And so I'll give a few gratuitous laughs, hopefully, get it going. And I'm trying to, I couldn't even, he just bombed his ass. But, it's funny. I actually heard on another podcast Aziz Ansari did, he mentioned that very weirdly the exact same thing, that he would go to the comedy set. He'd been several times, and he had seen Chris Rock just pop in and bomb his face off. Wow. And Aziz kind of said, it was shocking. And then later he kind of realized that's his process. As he goes in, he doesn't have the whole you know what I'm saying? That high energy Chris Rock, right. He's just real calm, talking, and that's his way of working stuff out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay, now I see it. But at the time, I was like, oh my God, Chris Rock's not good anymore. But so I spent a lot of time going to stand-up shows for sure.
And at no point you thought, I wouldn't mind signing up to do one of these.
Well, I definitely wanted to do that. I think the problem was I've known for a long time that I always wanted to do that. The problem was knowing how I could see how difficult it was. Speaking in front of people and then having something funny to say that other people think is funny. Because again, you talking to people at a bar or across a table. That person may laugh, think something's funny.
Right.
95% of the time, you try that on stage, it is not going to work. And I realized that, and I think a lot of people don't until their first few open mics. But I realized I needed to put an act together and kind of get my feet under me, get comfortable on stage. And I was just too afraid to try it in New York because I was just like, you're going to get eaten alive. I mean, I'm out there, I'm seeing Louis C.K. go up and he's getting heckled. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? I'm going to go up and I'm going to do great. I mean, everyone has that fantasy in their head I'm different. This is going to be great for me. But I think I realized that if I were to go out and crash and burn in New York like that, I just would never do it again. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to wait, and that's why I moved back to Austin to start.
Yeah. Wow. So you just, how did that plan? Lack of plan, I guess, because you said everything had been planned up till then.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I mean, so that's really what it was. I'd been in New York like 6-7 years, and 6 years maybe, and I'd always wanted to do it, and I made kind of a mental decision. All right, I want to maybe move back to Austin and do this and really dedicate myself to comedy, because when you're working at a finance job like 120 hours a week, if you try to pull back, you can't like, oh, I'll do that and then I'll do open mics after. No, because if you start pulling back, they're going to be like, what's going on? You're fired. And so I made a point, maybe like after 5 years of living there, I was like, I want to do this. And then I think like most things in life, maybe if you're in a relationship that you're like, this isn't good, I'm not very happy, but you're like, I'm going to keep going, it'll turn around. Or you kind of wait for a sign, like something where it's like, oh, okay, there's a good, perfect, seamless opening. Now it makes sense. So I'd maybe had a year where I was had made a decision, but I was waiting for the sign, waiting for something to tell me from the universe. And it was actually my birthday. I forget which birthday, but it was my birthday, and it was maybe like 3 a.m. And I'm talking to a buddy of mine, and he had just gotten married, and he had been terrified of being in relationships for a year. And so I was like, how did you make that decision? And he was like, I realized I'd been waiting for a sign, something to say, all right, this is the right person. And I realized that's never going to come. People, if you're waiting for a sign, you are going to wait the rest of your life, and it's never going to come. And then you're going to look back and say, why did I wait? And so he said, I just realized you got to close your eyes and jump with both feet, and you may crash, but you just got to do it. And it resonated with me so much that the next day I walked in and I was like, I quit. And it was stupid. Who does that? What a rash, irrational decision for me to just be like, all right, career, you're done. I was drunk and had a conversation with a friend. I'm out. And
but you'd been stewing on this all these years.
Yeah, well,
that was your sign.
You're right. Hey, there you go. Exactly. Well, and it's funny because I didn't have a plan. Like I didn't say, okay, I'm going to move back to Austin. I didn't have like a place to live. I didn't know. Okay, what do I start doing open mics? Do I take a class? I didn't know. I was just like, all right, quit. And then I was like, look, but I realized, I guess with life, that's what you have to do. Yeah. You just got to jump, and then you work the rest out. If you try to work everything out before you make a big decision, you're just going to keep trying to work things out.
Yeah.
So
Plus, and if you finally execute on that plan, it's going to slap you upside the head and go off kilter anyway.
100%, exactly. Yeah.
Plans are dumb.
Plans are dumb. Plans are dumb. Let's hope, because I never have one. So I like that. I like that stance. They're stupid. I don't know how to make them. Every time I've tried, they've blown up. So,
when you left Austin, did you know that there was a great comedy scene
in Austin?
Oh, I guess tell me when you left Austin.
So I left Austin in to go to college.
Right. But what year?
What is it, like 2006?
I'm skirting around asking your age.
So like 30.
Okay.
So
all right. So it wasn't. It was obviously not in its heyday that it is now, but it was still a decent scene.
There was it was mostly music. Austin's always been known for like live music capital of the world. So that's what I always thought of it as, and it wasn't until I didn't know that they had a scene. I didn't realize how strong it was until coming down here, being in the Austin comedy scene, and then seeing how much it's developed, and having national comics come through and say, oh yeah, outside of like New York and LA, Austin's like the third best scene in the country, which is wild. I had no idea. But having my mom here, so I could move back and stay with her for a month or two while I figure things out. But no, I just kind of lucked out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you kind of wanted that safety blanket, because obviously you could have started comedy in New York.
Right. I could. Well, because as a comic, I think a lot of people don't understand, including like the girl that I just started dating. I think when I'm like, oh, I'm going to do shows or mics, I think she and most people have this presumption, oh, you're getting you're getting paid, decently every show you do. And that is all smoking. But we're not getting paid anything. Like, so to try to do that in New York, because the living expenses, I mean, my rent was like almost $3,000 a month. Oh. And then when on top of like all other expenses, like my monthly nut was like, I don't know, $5,000. And so trying to do that like with no job, I mean, I couldn't sustain it. So I needed to come somewhere where living was a little cheaper and maybe I could get like some kind of job to kind of get me by while I focused on something that doesn't get me paid because it takes so many years of investing in yourself, I guess. So, but yeah, I came back in, I don't know, I've been back a few years. And the first comedy I actually did was improv. I signed up for improv, even though knowing that wasn't my long-term goal of what I wanted to do. If you've ever seen, I mean, you've seen improv shows. Yeah. Bad improv, which is 99% of improv, watching people suffer and die on an improv stage is the most painful thing you'll ever see in your life. And that's what
you went for.
Well, exactly, because I was like, I want to get comfortable on stage, get a stage presence, and be able to talk on stage. I mean, because I feel like a lot of stand-ups, I mean, it can take, if they're not comfortable on stage, it can take years to kind of build that up because you're only going like 4 minutes at a mic at a time.
Yeah.
And so doing improv, though, I figured if I start in the most awkward, field possible, then it would help. And it did. It helped tremendously. And I've learned to really like improv and get very comfortable getting no laughs for 20 minutes. I mean, straight. I mean, hopefully not no laughs. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, hopefully. But yeah, it's just it helped. It helped a lot, I think, develop me as a stand-up. And people have said that, maybe I move on stage a little bit more than most stand-ups because I kind of think about that because improv, they, teach you a lot about that.
Here are the words that are going to come out of my mouth, but it's not really what I mean to say, but the spirit I'll refine.
I'm hurt already. Okay. No, I'm kidding.
I want to call you out on your bullshit because one of the things that I really, really enjoyed is your Why Should We Care visit. You were in a fraternity when you were in college, and I'm sorry. If you're in a fraternity, being timid in front of people is not usually a trait that you expect. So, I'm trying to say, essentially, I can't even imagine that somebody who's bold enough to be in a fraternity and all of the, it seems like it's a personality trait to be very outgoing and very easy to work in social circles. And then, you're willing to pick up a random drunk guy and help him out at a big party. It just seems really surprising to me that you had any inkling or doubts about your ability to be on a stage.
So that's interesting. So and this is something that I've learned, being on stage and doing stand-up, I will say that I try to consider myself very sociable. So, I do think a lot of stand-ups kind of are maybe not very sociable. Off stage, on stage, their persona is very different, but off stage, I do think I'm pretty sociable and I can talk to anybody. It's going on stage and then having this expectation of these people that are looking at you and they're saying, make me laugh. All right, I'm not laughing yet. And all right, funny man, make me laugh. And it's just because, and it's possible that because I do feel like I'm sociable and it's I can handle it. I'm confident and comfortable, at a party where I don't really know anybody. Feeling like I'm ever not confident and comfortable, as soon as there's, at least early on, as soon as there was a whiff of that, I would be like, oh no, what am I doing? I should quit, kill myself, this is all wrong. So I was, it did, I think, just get in my head a little bit that just the different dynamic of being on stage and doing stand-up, where there's an expectation. They want a certain emotion. They want to laugh. They're there to make you laugh, and they expect you to do that. And, it's just, I can say like stuff that's maybe a little off color, a little offensive, like, just joking around, like, with friends, just being edgy, just to be edgy, just to mess with people. But, you can't do that. If you do that on stage, you really have to, you can turn an audience, and then it's just, it's such a different dynamic of like me talking, like being at the board game table with my family and making my dad like, because I'm making fun of my mom. That's so different than being on stage in front of 400 people and not knowing what you're doing. And I guess I'd seen so many people that are like Chris Rock. You see Chris Rock bomb, and you're like, holy shit, anybody can do this. Anybody can bomb. If Chris Rock is bombing, then what am I doing? So I just, but yeah, I will say I did speak a decent amount in front of people, like when I was doing the fraternity thing and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, no, that is true. It's just a little different, is what I've learned.
How long were you doing improv before you got? Now you're also doing sketch groups, and where I guess I'm interested in, at what point did you start feeling that confidence that you, all by yourself on the stage, you were ready for it?
Yeah, I think similar to, like most of it, I don't think you ever feel like, oh, I'm ready. And if you do feel like you're ready, you're about to get your ass kicked, and you're going to be told you're about to see that you're wrong. So, I had done improv for probably just over a year. So I graduated. You have classes and different levels, and I graduated. And I had been doing sketch comedy. So I started doing improv, and about maybe 10 months into that, I started taking some sketch classes and writing with this sketch group, these two other people that were very funny. And we started performing. And so it was maybe a year, close to like a year and a half of me doing that I was like, all right, let's rip this Band-Aid off. Let's start doing open mics. And it was that. It was about that time. And then, it's funny, I actually had forgotten about this. The first open mic I ever did, the first open mic I ever went to was, it was at, I guess, this theater in downtown Austin. And I was all fired up, ready to do it. And I had gone drinking the night before, and so I was feeling a little hungover. And so right before I went to the theater for the open mic, there was a Tylenol, and I'd like left it out for myself before I left, so I popped it in before I walked out the door. Get to the theater, and I'm like standing there, I'm waiting, and I'm in a few spots, and I'm like, God, I can't. I'm so nervous. I guess I can't remember my set. Like, I don't feel good. This is all, and it's all like, my memory was fucked. It was going nuts, and so I'm so nervous, I guess, and I just can't remember anything. And then you go up on stage, and the first time the lights hit you, and it's just all a blur. And I, get through my set, and I suffer through, and I'm like, I'm terrible. I'm the worst ever. I can't believe, how much I drank that I can't even remember anything anymore. I go home, and I look on my counter, and my Tylenol is there. And I was like, but I took my Tylenol. No, but the Ambien that I had sitting on my counter was gone. I took a sleeping pill right before I went and did my first open mic. Who does this? Who am I? God, no, I'm just, my life is just a bad Seinfeld episode. And I just, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? I'm like walking around like a zombie, and like no wonder the first open mic I had, it's like God tried his best to get me to not do stand-up. But, and then, but after that, my memory was a little better, thank God. I was like, God, what's wrong with me? But yeah, it definitely got better. And I will say, when I started doing stand open mics, I really went all in on it. There are a lot of open mics in Austin, and I was going from day one. I started going every night, and multiple every night. Wow. And it helped me a ton. I think a lot of people, when they start, they don't go that hard. And I've learned, it was like it was that New York, that finance mentality of like, hungry, you gotta, cut throats. I love everybody. I try to, maybe I'm too nice to a fault, but I do. I like helping people and everybody. And but I realized, to get good, you gotta be going out more or as much or more than everybody else if you're going to catch up. So, 7 nights a week for, years, close to 7 nights a week.
So you kept that pace for years?
Yeah.
Wow.
I would say still, I'm going out. Yeah. I'm still trying to go out like I'd love to go out 7 nights a week, but I would say I'm still maintaining about 5 at least. And, like last night I went to Cap City and saw Gary Goldman. And so if I'm not doing a mic, I try to go see a show. Because, it's important to see what other people are doing, see what jokes are about. It's good to see what's not working. Some people are doing other things. But, just, again, anything, it's consistency. And that's the only way to get better at anything. So
with all of this anticipation that you had built for yourself and like this long-term plan that took a really long time and meandered around when you finally started like really being immersed in it, was it everything that you hoped? You already knew you weren't going to get paid,
right?
And you knew you were going to bomb at certain points, but all of the stuff that you expected that was all the good of it, did it live up to your expectations?
Absolutely not. No, So, I think everyone that does stand-up, or everyone that does everyone that thinks they're funny, thinks that they see other people bomb, they see other people do it, and they go, yeah, well, I'm going to be the different one. I'm going to be the one because I get it. They're going to like me. And so you go up and you do it and you go, and it takes a while and you realize, oh, shit, I'm not better than anybody else. This is just, these are all very funny people and this is just a very difficult art form. So, no, I think everyone has this illusion that they're going to start doing it, and then Dave Chappelle's going to go, look at this guy, we got to get him touring with me, and then it's just going to, and in 3 months you're going to be on TV and have your own special. And I think it helped me a lot to be going out constantly, and then just realizing that starting out, this is a grind. It's not going to be, you're going to be tired, not want to go, but you make yourself go. And I think that was helpful for me because no, it's definitely not. I have had some awesome opportunities, like you'd mentioned during my bio, that have come to me faster than after doing it for a little while. They came faster than I expected, which has been great. And people have been very nice and helped me and been complimentary about the stuff that I've done early on, kind of early in my career. But it's definitely not. It's like anything, you meet somebody, you start dating, and you're like, oh, it's going great. And then it starts to be, there's still speed bumps like everything else. You're like, oh, that's right. So, but no, it's been great. I still love it, but I think everyone envisions some rocket ship to success immediately that isn't there, which is fine.
Yeah. Do you remember the first show that you got booked on?
Yes. It was... I'm trying to remember which one was first. It was Stone Drunk Sober.
Boy.
Stone versus Drunk versus Sober. So Rob Gagnon, the host of Stone Drunk Sober and the host of Sandbox, he's just the best person on earth. He's like a comic genius, and he's just, again, he is such a nice guy to everyone that he gave me a shot, like booking me. I was on Team Sober, thank God, the first time I did that show. But I had not been doing it long enough to, probably justify getting booked. But he's such a good guy that he gave me a shot, which I've always appreciated because he took a risk. And similar with his Sandbox show, that's the first show I did. That's the alternative comedy show. And I did like this whole thing on how awkward I am. And he was the first one to let me do that. And then he was the first one to book me on that. So he's somebody that I've always seen, kind of idolized in our local comedy scene. Just somebody who does it the right way, is nice to people, gives people opportunities, and is very funny themselves. Yeah. But it was Stone Drunk Sober. And it went well. We won. It's a competition show. Stoned people, comics, 2 stoned, 2 drunk, 2 sober. Yeah. And Luis Flandez and I won, which was awesome. It felt so cool. I was like, it's my first show, and it was competitive, and we won. It was nice. It felt great.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's not very often that I get to interview somebody who's dabbling in the three arts, if you will, the sketch, improv, and stand-up. So I always have to ask.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite? Do you go between favorites from, just depending on the month or the mood that you're in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think I probably... it does vary because you do. Again, I keep saying like anything, but like you have too much of one thing. You're like, all right, look, what about this other? Yeah. So I do kind of balance it. I'm kind of constantly doing all three. I would say stand up is probably my favorite right now, just because the others involve other people, and they also, improv. Again, it's all made up, so there's not much planning. But like sketch. It takes months to write these sketches, and then you got to hire actors, and then you got to book the show dates, and then you got to rehearse, and then you're refining these things, and then you do the show, and then it's like you do the show like once or maybe twice if you're lucky, and then it's like, whoa, that was 6 months of work for that 1 hour, that one night, and it's like, okay, it's done, So I've kind of, unfortunately, that's the one that's maybe fallen to third place in terms of my priorities, which sucks because I really enjoyed, like the two people I did the do the cool table thing with, Doug Hines and Catherine Hudgens. They're amazing. They're very funny, but it's just such a writing. I don't think a lot of people understand like how much goes into writing funny sketch material and stuff, and then so forth. So, but I still do the improv stuff. Like we went to New York and did that Del Close marathon thing that Amy Poehler started, which was fun. And so, yeah, I would say all three have really been a joy for me.
How did you keep that pace of doing mics every night of the week and do improv as well? Or are you lumping that into the work that you were doing?
Well, no, I would say that you can do them all because, again, there's so many mics that we would do like an improv show or a sketch show or something, or sketch rehearsal or stuff like that, and there will, 90% or 80% of the time, there's going to be a mic before or after that you can do, or before and after. And so, yeah, you're just constantly running around doing shows. So, yeah, that's really what it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you hit on a moment? Because, you clearly work really hard at this. Have you had a moment where I call it the light bulb moment, where you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad I just changed course completely and pursued this dream.
Yeah. I would say pretty regularly, because you have these moments where, I was working in finance in New York. I've been doing it for a while. I was pretty good at it. I was making some money. Yes, I was spending most of it, on just living. But there are times where you're like, oof, I'm broke. What am I doing? And it's like, and then you have that moment where you're like, oh, I'm broke. But then you think, okay, well, what's the alternative? I guess I go back and do that finance stuff. And then my whole body tenses up and I cringe because I just have this emotional PTSD from it where, it was so stressful and draining, and I just got to the point where I was dreading going into work, which is not something you want, because then life sucks. So I don't have that going to mics. I have less money now, but as we kind of said, I'm investing in myself to hopefully, if I just keep it up, being able to be paid and do this, where I don't have to, be stressed about, guacamole on the Chipotle. Well, then I can't pay rent. So but this is much better than the alternative. So I have those kind of reminders pretty frequently of, I could be doing that, but it's not a life that I want anymore.
With everything that you juggle comedically, have you hosted your own show? Are you in that?
Yeah. So now Harrison Hammonds and I host the Cherrywood Open Mic. Mm-hmm. So we that's every Tuesday, and that's what hosting an open mic is, a thankless. My God, what am I doing? Why did I agree to do this? Oh, Harrison, what did you do to me? But yeah, just because you have all these open mic, you have 40 people that show up to an open mic, and they're just people like I described, like myself when I started. It's like, oh, I said this really offensive thing to my terrible friend, and he laughed. I'm going to go say it on stage because I'm funny. And it's like, good Lord, what are you doing? You're like clearing the place out with your weird racist takes on, like, you know, homophobe, Me Too. And it's like, God, how many trans? It's like, God, how many offensive things can you put in one sentence? And
this isn't topical and current at all.
Yeah, I mean, well, and you see it, and you're just like, what am I doing? I'm not getting paid to do this either. I'm getting, like, you know,
what am I learning?
Exactly. And I mean, hosting an open mic is really. Another comic told me early on, he was like, hosting an open mic is like your way of contributing to the scene, because without it, everyone needs these open mics. And to fall on that sword, take that bullet of hosting it, taking several hours out of every week to host it, it's my way of kind of trying to contribute to the Austin comedy scene, as it's, you know, helped me so much. But yeah, it can be brutal. But I also we are kind of taking a hiatus from it, but was hosting Double Barrel, which was a showcase where Andrew Wagner and Jared McCorkle and I hosted it, where, you know, we would give two comics, give them both co-headlining sets, so it would be two 30-minute sets, and we tried to give them those opportunities to comics who we felt like should be having headlining opportunities, but for whatever reason, they hadn't been in the scene long enough. They, you know, weren't getting them. So, you know, we did that. We were doing that for a year. We've taken a couple months off just because having three hosts for, you know, a host where we're booking two people, you know, it's just hosting your own show. It's a lot of work, but especially when you're really not getting paid that much. I think a lot of people don't understand. I mean, these shows, we'll pack some of these shows out, but unless you negotiate it well with the venue, which is very difficult because a lot of venues are, you know, people just, oh, I'll come do it for free. And it's like, all right, buddy, you're killing it for the rest of them. We need to unionize. But yeah, it's, you know, we don't get paid much, but it's fun. And that's how you kind of get your name out. But Double Barrel is the other show that I do. Yeah.
Well, as a fan, I would say, and as well, this is going to sound awful.
Sure.
As an industry
person,
which I'm not really.
You are.
But I stop. As somebody who just observes a lot about how the comedy universe works, what you stumbled on, giving people the 30 minutes so that they could, it's just that one further step forward to those headlining spots. You know, I think LA is a rich environment because people are so creative and they figure out different ways to do things that ultimately help people become better comics. And that's a thing that in Austin there's not a lot of those opportunities that, you know, in the long run, this is the type of format that can really help somebody, you know, get past a particular step or not hurdle, but, you know, that they can really push themselves to a higher level with. So, you know, I hope you guys come back. Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, because we, you know, there were some comics that, like Andrew Clarkson, who's this hilarious comic here. He's so good, but he'd never. I mean, you know, he does have a unique style to his stand-up, but which is amazing. I mean, it's so funny. But you know, he, for whatever reason, just hadn't gotten any headlining spots, and he did. So we asked him to do the thing. He did 30 minutes, and it was so good. It was so funny, and you just see, like, man, I mean, some of these people, they just, you know, they may be younger in the scene and stuff. I mean, I think he's been doing it longer than me, for sure, but still is kind of young for the comedy world. But, I mean, he crushed it. And there are a lot of people like Justin Hicks. I mean, you know, our show was the first time they did 30 minutes, and they killed it. Yeah. So, we'll have to bring that back. I'll steal it from the two of Jared and Andrew. This is official notice. You're out. I'm it. It's mine again. It's Valerie and me. We're taking it over. Industry takeover. We're doing it. That's right. You just stole my word. Now you're using it against me. No, for you. All right. So, how was it opening or hosting? Because, you know, as somebody who watches a lot of comedy, you got to parse those words. You hosted for the Sklar Brothers, and you've done. I mean, I don't know why. I think I focus on that show just because I was there. But you've hosted at the Cap more than once. Like, how many times have you done it now?
3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I've done other shows there. I think I've hosted 3 times, which is great. I mean, Cap City is they're one of the top. Everyone, all these nationally touring comics, including the Sklar Brothers. I mean, they're they're like, Cap City is one of the top 5 clubs in the country, and which is so cool and crazy to hear because it's just like it's our big club, but I mean, it's one that we go to, and to know that it's nationally thought of highly is very cool. But yeah, but they're just so helpful in giving opportunities to new comics. So yeah, I've hosted 3 times there for Leanne Morgan, who's great. She's so good, and she's so sweet. John Heffron, who was great. He was one, you mentioned earlier when I was, kind of early comedy thing, watching like Last Comic Standing, because he was on like the second season he won. And I remembered seeing him, and so when they asked me to host for him, I was like, oh, this is so cool. Wow. So I did it for him, and then the Sklar Brothers as well. Those guys are so funny and so nice. They are the kindest, like, individual. I mean, not even just comics. They're just the people. The 2 nicest people you're ever going to meet. And they're so down to earth and funny and helpful. And, most national comics that come through, I mean, they've got, especially somebody like on their level where, I mean, they've got these amazingly popular podcasts, like 2 or 3 of them. They're always like on TV. They're shooting commercials. I mean, they've got their own shows. It's wild. And for them to come in, meet me for the first time, and I remember it was like Thursday night they came in, and Martha Kelly was featuring. So it was Martha Kelly, the Sklar Brothers, and me, and we're in the green room. And then after the show, they were like, "Oh, hey, our aunt and uncle drove in from Dallas, and so we're gonna go to dinner with them. Like, Hunter, do you and Martha want to come?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're just so polite that they're just like, "Oh, we're gonna do. Do you want to come to dinner with my family?" And I'm like, "What are you?" The fact that you're talking to me was like more than I expected. For you to be like, "Yeah, come over for Christmas." Well, be my godparent. I don't know. Like, I mean, it was so nice. I mean, I felt like it was them being very nice. So I passed because I was just like, oh, that's very nice. I'll let you enjoy your family time. But, then the next night they're tired. They're working all the time, but they still were like, after every show, they'd be like, hey, do you want to go grab a drink? Like, let's sit down. Hey, give me some of your bits you're working on. We'll try to work them out for you. What do you do? I know. Who are these people? It's crazy. I'm like, am I being punked? You're going to like, give me a bit. And they were going to be like, fuck you. That sucks. And I'm like, okay, all right. That makes sense. They're the nicest.
Knock it off, Sklar Brothers.
I know.
Randy
they just.
And Jason, who do you think? They're
so
nice.
They are so nice, and they're just so. And then I saw them again at Moon Tower, and they were great. And just their timing. What was great when the show that you saw when I was hosting for them at Cap City. It just. I think comics, especially nationally touring ones, they can approach sets different nights, different ways. And sometimes they're like, all right, I've got my 45, 50 minutes of material. I'm going to walk up, I'm going to do that, and I'm out. And then, they would walk up, and every night they were writing more. They were doing more material on Austin, like local stuff. By I guess it was 6 or 7 shows they did. By the late Saturday show, the last show, they were opening with like 15 minutes of new material on Austin, and it was great. It was so funny that they were crushing. They just are constantly. I mean, it's such a cool. I kept watching them, being like, because they literally. The way that they are on stage is exactly how they are off stage. They finish each other's sentences, and it's exactly what the other one's thinking. I mean, and it's so cool to see, and they will just start bouncing tags or like punchlines off of each other. They'll say something, and they'll just keep going, like riffing back and forth. I'm like, this is insane.
They're amazing to watch.
They're amazing, and they're just great performers.
They're nice guys,
and they're so nice, and they're so funny because. And at Moon Tower, I talked to some. You talked to. Was there? There's David Cross and like Mike Birbiglia and like some of these other guys that I had the opportunity of. Being around, and I guess I mentioned the Sklar Brothers, and they were like, "Oh, those are the two nicest guys. They're so funny, and everyone says the same thing about them, and it's like anyway. It's just you see these people that have become successful, and they're doing it the right way, being nice to they're not like trying to cut everyone down to get to the top. They are trying to, I'll help you, and then, they're just doing it the right way, and seeing that has helped me. I always kind of approach it that way, but it's comforting to see you can do it the right way and be successil. So, yeah, it's great.
Let's talk about the contest.
Okay. Woof. Yeah.
Let's see if we can get something controversial going here.
Sure, let's do it. I'll talk about anybody. That's right.
How long into doing stand-up did you take your first turn and the contest is the funniest person in Austin?
Funniest person, FPIA. The first time, it was not, I would say I'd only been doing it 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
So, and man, I was nervous, and it was interesting because the first time I did the contest and the prelims, my first round, I went up and in my head, I had been nervous for weeks waiting for this, and then it was only until I was waiting off stage about to go up, I had this weird sense of, man, you're gonna look, if you are stressed about this and it's gonna come off on stage. I mean, and I think if you're nervous, I mean, people can pick up on that immediately. Right. And I just kind of told myself, it doesn't matter. It's your first year doing it. Who cares? Just go out and just be stupid. This is make a joke, make fun, be loose, because it doesn't matter. And that kind of helped me a lot, because I that first year I did make it through to the semis, which was very surprising. I mean, but I was so excited. I was over the moon, because that was the first thing it was very validating, I guess, to be with 16 other comics who, I mean, in my night, it had it had just a bunch of people like Zach Brooks, all these people that had been in the finals the year before, and I was like, what am I doing? What are you doing? Come on, Margie, Chandy, people who book it. I was like, and so anyway, but I made it through, and it was awesome.
Are you able to keep that same level-headed sense?
Yes. I mean, it was a little, and then this year, it was my second year. It was a little more. I mean, I was nervous only because I was like, I made it through my last year. If I don't make it through this year, what am I doing? Am I stepping backwards? And so I was a little nervous, but I definitely felt better about my material this year, and so I did. It was nice to make it through the semis, and then it was
So this year is only your second year to do the contest?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So making it to the finals this year was so. I mean, it was awesome, just because the people that are judging the semis nights. It's the LA rep and the New York talent scouts for Comedy Central, and then the booker for Just for Laughs. So these are, I mean,
That's
if you want
to,
that's it. Well, they're just like you. They're your peers. It's but these are people that they see comics every day, and they're constantly evaluating and picking. All right, we're going to give you a show, and you're done forever. Quit your job. And it's to have them say, yeah, you were one of we liked you. Was awesome. Yeah. And then getting to talk to them after. It was I mean, the contest is stressful, but I mean, it can do great things, because several comics like Devin Walker and Chris Tellez have both gotten picked from those Comedy Central reps, seeing them at the contest, picked to go be in the Up Next by Comedy Central, kind of picks the up and coming comics that they think and so getting that visibility is, I mean, priceless. So I mean, it's great. Yeah. Do you have some controversial? You want to stir up some controversy? You want to? Let's talk about. There weren't enough Polish this year in in the finals. What is this? What are you doing? I'm not doing it next year.
I'm just always fascinated in how people perceive the contest and approach the contest, because for some people, it's like the worst few months of their lives, and for some people they're like, whatever. It's just a way for me to get a video. Or
sure.
It's just a way for me to see how I'm progressing from year to year. And
I will. I mean, to that point, I will say a lot of people will say it's, like half the people are like, oh, it's stressful and it's difficult, and then the other half lie and say it's not. So it is. Everyone's like, I'm just going to get a good video. Shut up, okay? We all want to win and move on. It's never like, oh, this is fun, just happy to be here. No, you are doing it because you think maybe you can go through, and it's just all the mental games of being like, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're just like, if I tell you, maybe I'll believe it myself. So it's very stressful because, Cap City, I mean, also that was the first year I did it, when I went through the semis, that was when Margie saw me, the owner of Cap City, and she said, okay, I like you. And then I got booked to do host for John Heffron out of that. So she saw me and liked. So, I mean, there's all of these. This is your shot. This is your shot for Margie to see you and essentially, kind of pass you, see if she likes you. Right. And this is your one chance you're going to get throughout the year. And, this is then after, if you make it through, then you get to do it in front of Comedy Central. That's your one shot. Yeah. And you may never, if you don't make it through to the semis again, you may not get that opportunity again. So it's stressful. And then, it's because, it's an art form, right? And so you're telling judges to essentially judge an art contest, and you put like a Monet next to that's the only artist I know. A Monet next to another Monet, and they're like, oh, pick which one you like more. It's like, well, it's art, maybe today I like this one, or some people like that. It doesn't mean it's better or worse. And I think a lot of people, it's tough because there are some very funny comics that don't do well in the contest, and it's just because, you have 6 minutes and you are going in and around 16 different comics, and so you have to be on that night, and if for whatever reason the audience is just like, oh, you're a little too alternative and weird, like we don't get it yet, you miss out. So
there's a lot of factors.
There's so many, when you go up and throughout the night, a lot of weight is put on that. It's stressful, but it's good. I think practice for, if you start going on auditions, I mean, talk about competing with 50 other people that look like you and sound like you, and then getting used to that high pressure and then not getting it or getting it. I mean, I think it's important to put yourself through that, and then if you are, and kind of understand, okay, what do I need to do to make it to that next level and get through? And so I think that's part of the reason,
Yeah, it's a very different mindset from just going to the mics when you're allowed to be more casual about things.
Right.
Versus, you've got to be on. If you're really genuine about wanting to improve and keep getting better, then you want to be on that night that you perform. Even if you're never going to advance past the prelims because you're just too weird.
Right.
But you want to have something to present because there might be a festival that loves weird.
Exactly.
So,
no, I mean, exactly. And it's interesting. So, I mean,
we're going to start winding down, but I am really eager to hear about this movie.
Oh, that's right. I'm famous.
Yeah.
Mark it down. Everybody, network, industry people, listen up.
So this is Ultimate World. Is that still the working title?
Ultimate World.
It sounds like it's
welcome
go
to
against,
a dimension.
The Rock.
It is. I'm The Rock. This is me. This is the whole time. I've been Dwayne Johnson. Hello. You can't tell. You don't know. Maybe this is what I sound like on podcasts.
Could be.
This is
Could very well be.
Exactly. So it's an independent film that some Nathaniel Hendricks and Spencer Lucas wrote and directed and co-directed that they filmed here in Austin, and it's cool. I play I'm essentially, I mean, you mentioned Matthew Broussard and like, you know, having a look that is, you know, some would call, I mean, you mentioned the fraternity stuff. Yeah, that's on brand, you know, like, oh, you walk up and you're like, oh, that's probably a douchebag. I probably am going to hate that guy. And like, you know, I have that look where it's like, I can't wait to not like you. And, so yeah, I was cast as like I think the character description was like a mid-20s app like founder of a tech company who's like pompous, and I was like, all right. And they were like, yeah, we didn't even want to, you know, we auditioned like one other person. We were like, no, we want you. And I'm like, all right, offended, but thank you. But like, hopefully, my God, I can get like another role in my life rather than playing, you know, the Revenge of the Nerds, the like not cool for the mean fraternity, those guys. But yeah, it was fun. I definitely have because I don't have a ton of acting experience. I definitely have I'm a little more loose when it comes to acting. Like I try to, you know, be a little funnier and looser. You know, the improv stuff has helped, but yeah, I would, you know, kind of go off script every once in a while just to, you know, mess around, which they didn't love. But, you know, but every once in a while they'd laugh and they'd be like, all right, you know what, maybe do that again. Let's maybe keep that. So that felt good. Be like, yeah.
How big of a role is it?
So I'm not like one of the stars. It's, I definitely, you know, speak throughout it and have several different, I'm trying to think. I mean, because we filmed it like a little while ago, like maybe 8-9 months ago, but it goes through, I had no idea how long it takes to like produce and edit movies and all the sound and different stuff that, you know, that these movies are filmed and then it takes a year to more to get out. But yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, maybe I'm a feature. Hey, how about that word? Industry. So yeah, it's something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's going to be a fun, good movie that, you know, with a name like Ultimate World, come on, how's it going to be bad? That's got to, you know, fly off the shelves. Yeah. Everyone, check it out. But yeah.
So in your planned life now, what's next? Are you starting to look at the big cities, or are you happy to keep refining and working the scene here?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that is such the conundrum, I guess, of doing something like this, because it was me probably, I don't know if it was too soon for me to like jump from, you know, I definitely didn't prepare very much when I quit my job and then just started doing this. And so, and then, you know, waiting, that's the kind of the difficulty of doing stand-up or like an art form like this, where some people are ready much sooner than others. Some people can do it for a couple of years and they're ready for New York and LA and they'll make it. Some people, I mean, they've been doing it like 10 years here and they're still, I mean, they're good and and maybe they're ready, but they still, you know, for whatever reason haven't gone, and that may not be a mistake. Because there are people that have just been doing it for tens of years that they haven't moved and they don't, because, you know, you don't know when. I have been thinking about it for sure, because some people who I feel like are have similar levels of success locally to me have started to talk about their moving plans. So it's definitely on my brain. I would say that, you know, it probably would be smart of me though to at least stay another year before, and then, but after that, I would say it would be probably smart for me to really think about it. But I do think to make that next step, you know, of like more mainstream success, you know, being in New York or LA, where the agents are, where they're doing a lot of the casting and the different auditions and stuff, you really need to be there, because you can do, you know, locally here, you can do, like, there's, I won't say who it is, but, you know, he has an agent that will say, you know, okay, there's an open, you know, there's an audition for XYZ role, film here's the script, film yourself doing the audition, and then we send it to them. And then if they like you, then, things move forward. Maybe you come out to LA and audition in person, or, go forward. So you can do it that way. I mean, you got to just for like The Daily Show and, stuff like that. So, I mean, there's big stuff. But I mean, he was telling me, his agent was like, you need to get out of here, because like, I guess the video auditions don't come across as good. And, so for you to be able to kind of make that next step, you should be here. Because also, say they're casting for something and then somebody drops out for some reason. They need somebody last minute. It's like, oh, you know what? You're here. We'll throw you in. I mean, they're not going to be like, hey, let's fly that guy from Austin. And it's like, oh, let's just take this person. So it is important, I think, to do the New York or LA thing. I do think that, I mean, both cities have like different appeals. I think, people don't understand they're very different in terms, like LA, I don't know. I don't consider myself an LA guy. I mean, I think New York, I kind of like the grunge and a little bit. And
you're familiar with it.
Exactly. So I'm familiar with it. But so I think if I did, it would probably be, I mean, I don't know. I mean, even...
You don't have to decide today.
I'm deciding right now. We're going to spend the next 85 minutes while I just sit here and go, well, New York is this, and summertime in L.A. is summer, and, I like the Subway, sandwiches, but I don't know.
Has anybody told you that when you do this voice, who you sound like?
No, like Kermit or something?
No.
No?
Okay, sure, maybe, but no, really, in the comic universe. Nobody has told you who you sound like? Do you ever listen to Chris D'Elia?
Oh, yes.
Sometimes when he gets into some of his character voices.
He?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Holy shit, is he impersonating D'Elia?
Yeah, yes. Oh, that is, oof. Oof. The industry folk telling me I'm Chris D'Elia. I don't know if that's the comparison I want.
Oh, my God, it's happening.
Hey, no, it's crazy. I'm Chris D'Elia.
Holy shit.
Oh, my dad's famous, but my hair's too long. Justin Bieber likes me. Oh, God. Oh, I'm very depressed in my latest special. Don't watch it. Yeah, I don't know. That's it. That's me, Chris. I'm going to be East Coast Chris.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, oh, look, we can hate him on both coasts. This is great. Wonderful. There you go.
Oh, my God.
It's refined.
Wow. Okay, we're going to wind down. You've had almost an hour to plan for this.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for your final question?
Oh, not at all. Okay. Let's go.
One word to describe your future.
I'm going to say... all these cliche words keep coming into my head, and I want to, hopefully, I'm going to say exciting. Huh? Whoa, that is the worst word I could have. For some reason, I was like, think of another word. What will Chris D'Elia say? Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Oh, guys. Oh, that's, you got Chris D'Elia. That'll be my, what's one word, D'Elia? That's the word I'm going to go with, It's a synonym for hated. That'll be it. So excited D'Elia. That's gonna be my stage name. That's right, my porn star name. He's excited D'Elia. Coming to you. Hey, yeah, that'll be. I'm excited.
Oh man, I warned you before we started recording that this wasn't necessarily supposed to be a yuck yuck show. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine if I had not given you
That's right. This is me serious. This is me at a funeral. I'll give a eulogy that is in the Chris D'Elia voice. Oh, they're dead. That's cool. I wish I was. That's.
If Chris ever gets word that you trashed him.
Listen up. I'm coming at you. I'm taking you down. I want Bieber to be my best friend.
He would say you're a Cuda.
Yeah. Cuda? Is that
That's what he calls haters.
Oh, see, I should probably watch my twin brothers. Okay, gotcha.
No, it's his podcast.
Oh.
I'm a Deliever, so I'm hard.
Oh no.
We're going to have words when the mics are off.
Oh my God. I was going to say, she's sharpening a knife right now. Ladies and gentlemen, if I go missing, please.
No one's ever going to hear this.
Yeah, exactly. Excited D'Elia. This will be the last time you hear me.
All right. Oh boy, let's see if I can stay serious for our rapping comments. That is a wrap on Comedy Wham presents Hunter Duncan. Hunter, tell us where we can find you on social media and what you've got coming up.
Oh, you can Instagram at HS Duncan. I'm on Twitter at Hunter Duncan 212 New York. That's right. D'Elia. Yeah, you want to find me on Netflix, Chris D'Elia. I've got a terrible comedy special on there.
On fire, incorrigible.
Exactly. Get on there. Don't watch any of them. And I don't know why. I've never talked about Chris D'Elia before, but now I'm coming after him. Oh, no one's safe. You can. I'm trying to think. That's it. That's the best way. You follow those, and I'm going to post all my shows, and you can come see me, and you can yell excited to Leah, and I'll go fuck you, and then we'll be best friends.
Do it. I implore the audience. Do it.
Do it.
We hope you've enjoyed learning about how Hunter got to be the comedic genius that you heard today just as much as I have. Be sure to visit ComedyWham.com. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at ComedyWham, and like our Facebook page. Listen to our past interviews on iTunes or your favorite podcast player, and please review us while you're at it. This has been Comedy Wham presents Hunter Duncan. I'm Valerie, and that's been very funny. Thank you, Hunter.
Thank you for having me. Excited to leave out.